Fiji is a developing country located in the South Pacific Ocean. It is made up of 330 islands, a third of which are permanently inhabited. Fiji has one of the most developed economies in the Pacific due to the abundance of forest, mineral, and fish resources. The main sources of their foreign exchange are tourism and sugar.
Fiji's population in 1960 was sitting at about 393,000 people total, and has been on a steady incline to 909,000 people today. There hasn't been any major baby boom or disease that has seriously impacted the country over the past 60 years. This is primarily due to the improving technology.
The present day birth rate in Fiji is about 19.7 per thousand, which is drastically improved from the 45.4 per thousand it was in 1960, as well as the death rate has declined from 11.5 to 7 per thousand. However, both stats are not as good compared to the United States.
Fiji's current population is sitting at about 909,000 people, exceeding 2017's total population of 902,000 by 7,000, which is a 0.73 increase in population. The total births have also exceeded deaths by about 12,000 people as well.
In 1875, the life expectancy in Fiji was at 1 when an outbreak of measles wiped out 40% of the population. Measles haunted Fiji for almost a century after that, but the population then began to grow rapidly after a vaccine for the virus came out in 1982. Also, in 1918, a flu epidemic wiped out much of the population.
The doubling time of Fiji's population is about 35 years. In 1960, a woman would typically have 6 kids, and in the US, a woman would typically have 3. Present day, in Fiji, women typically have 2 kids, and in the US, about 1.
In 1960, the life expectancy in Fiji was 55.7. However, that has been on a sharp increase since, as it now sits at 65.8. That is similar to the United States, how in 1960 it was at 68.1 and now sits at 79.1 years.
The net migration rate in Fiji in 1960 was at negative 2.67 and present day is negative 6.56, opposing to the US, where the net migration rate in 1960 was at a positive 2.36 and today is sitting at 3.9.
As seen in the age structure diagram on the left side of the screen, there are a lot more young people in Fiji than there are older people, allowing for a lot of population growth in the future. You can also see that in the United States age structure diagram on the right. Another similarity between the two countries is that they are both equally distributed in terms of gender.
The expected population growth and how family planning affects it has been a sharp increase in Fiji. Fertility was higher among Fijian women who had completed primary education compared to those who had no school. Having children is known to be an investment in the country and eventually pays off as an insurance as the parents end up getting old in the future.
Fiji is currently in stage 3 of the demographic transition model because it is experiencing population growth. However, it is moderate and slowing. Furthermore, a stage 3 country typically has a natural rate of increase of 1 to 3%, and Fiji's natural rate of increase is 1.4%.
As seen in the diagram on the top left, the investment freedom in Fiji is a lot lower, so people have less of a chance to invest. The tax burden in the bottom left is also a lot higher, so people are being taxed more and will have less money. The economic integrity in Fiji is also a lot lower, so people have less trust in the government, which gives them an overall score much lower than the US's.
CO2 emissions in the country of Fiji are very low, at just about 700.9 units, 142nd most on Earth, which is mostly because Fiji is not a very developed country and does not have a lot of technology. The US, however, emits 5,762,050 units per year, which tops the list.
When speaking about the consumption of the world's energy, comparing between the US and Fiji, the US consists of only 5% of the world's population and yet still takes up 24% of the world's energy. In contrast, Fiji accounts for less than 1% of the population and yet still consumes less than 1% of the world's energy.
The majority of the affluence in families in the United States actually comes from inheritance. About 60% of the wealthiest 20% of United States citizens, their money came from inheritance. Fiji is different in that only 5% of the population is considered wealthy, and rarely do Fijians ever acquire inheritance.
In order to analyze and calculate Fiji's IPAT, it's taken into account the population, affluence, and technology. Fiji's population is moderately low for a developing country at about 909,000 people, and the affluence is in stride with that. The technology is not as far developed, but it is helping a lot, which gives them a moderate emission and a moderate IPAT.
Increased affluence positively affects the population due to its positive impact on the economy and GDP, creating more wealth throughout the country. A negative effect that increased affluence can have is that those who are born into poverty can often be left behind, increasing the poverty rate and wealth gap in Fiji.
There are numerous local, global, and urban impacts on the Fiji environment. However, the most impactful is tourism, and it has seriously taken a toll on the country. Tourism has taken a lot out of wildlife in order to put up resorts. However, there are reserves to preserve the nature. Locals in the area have also been extremely conscious of the environment.
Fiji's economy has gone through many ups and downs in recent decades. However, their GDP now sits at $4.6 billion, and despite being significantly lower than the United States, it actually ranks amongst the middle amongst developing countries, as can be seen by the graph on the lower right hand of the screen.
The question you all may be wondering is, can the country be sustained? The Fijian economy has registered 6 consecutive years of GDP expansion, making this the strongest period of sustained growth in recent decades. The government's strong social, economic, and political reform program and continuing macroeconomic stability have contributed to the success and provided the foundation for future growth.